Hello and welcome. You're watching News Central now, right here on News Central Television. I'm Kofi Bartels. Let's begin with the top stories at this hour. Tanker explosion in River State kills 5 persons, burns 120 vehicles. Opposition wraps up campaign ahead of legislative polls in Togo. Sudan demands emergency UN meeting over its UAE's involvement in its lingering conflict. We'll bring you details of these headlines and other stories shortly. Let's begin by telling you that reactions have trailed the order by a Kogi State High Court sitting in Lokoja to the chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, which is Nigeria's anti-corruption watchdog, Ola Olukoyede, to appear in court on May 13, 2024 to showcase why an order of committal should not be made against him for allegedly disobeying the court order. The EFCC boss may be facing a contempt charge for carrying out some acts upon which they have been restrained by the court on February 9, 2024, pending the determination of the substantive originating motion. Justice I.A. Jamil delivering a ruling held that the said act was carried out by the respondent, being the EFCC, in violation of the order, which was valid and subsisting when they carried out the act. Justice Jamil said the act of the respondent amounts to contempt. Well, to discuss this, I'm joined by National Coordinator of Activists for Good Governance, Declan Ehekari. Good evening, good afternoon to you, rather. Thank you.
Yeah, good afternoon.
This has been a very top story throughout the week, and this is a point where we find ourselves at. How does this court order fit within the jurisdictional framework of the Kogi High Court in matters related to the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission? Declan.
Yeah, thank you so much. I will start by saying that the anti-graft agency is not really doing what Nigerians expect them to do. Moreover, he that must come for equity must come with clean hands. The anti-graft agency ought to be an agency of the government that must always stand above the board. It's an agency of the government that should checkmate any act of wrongdoing that amounts to corruption. And so, when a court of competent jurisdiction has given an order, it is total corruption to disobey such an order. And in this stance, an order was given in favor of former governor of Kogi State, Alhaji Yahaya Bello, restraining the anti-graft agency from arresting him, pending when every issue surrounding the order that was sought is cleared. But as usual, the anti-graft agency, led by a lawyer who knows, because if he does not know, he won't be placed in that position that he is today. He knows, decided to disobey the court order that was issued by a court of competent jurisdiction. And I think it's very, very embarrassing. And I think the decision of the court at this point in time should be obeyed. He should respond to that call of a case coming up against him in respect of the contempt.
All right. Let's just imagine you are to defend the EFCC. Maybe you might be the lawyer or advising them. How might the EFCC boss respond to the Kogi High Court's order, considering, Mr. Ehekari, the federal nature of the mandate of the anti-graft agency?
A court is a court. Every court has its rules and regulations. And once an order has been given by a particular court, is either you go to that court to vacate such an order or you go to a higher court. But my own concern as a citizen of this country is this. The same court the current chairman of EFCC has disobeyed by going after Alhaji Yahaya Bello. It's the same court he might likely run to clear the issue of the contempt charge that's about being leveled against him. So you can't eat your cake and have it. You can't approbate and reprobate. And that's what we are saying, that it has always been the regular stance of every EFCC herdsman to disobey court orders. Sometimes they feel as if they are gods or they are masters. But what really baffled Nigerians in this is that the person at the head of affair now, head of affair in EFCC now, is a lawyer. Is a lawyer that should know when things are right and when things are wrong. Nigeria is a country of law. It's a country that has regulations as enshrined in the Constitution, which must be respected by every individual. And that was what I said earlier. EFCC being an agency that should curtail corruption in this country shouldn't be found disobeying court orders. Because when you do that, it amounts to corruption itself. It amounts to corruption itself because you cannot, there's no way you arrest a suspect who is corrupt. You can't charge them to you charge them to court. The same court you are disobeying its orders. And that's why we're saying something has to be done. The sanctity of the courts must be maintained. If it's not maintained, then we're heading towards anarchy. And that's why people are saying that, oh, what is happening in Kogi episode might be a witch hunting.
But Mr. Hakeri, some Nigerians are of the view, if you listen to the interactions on different platforms, that the judiciary is enabling corruption. What do you say to that?
Well, if we said that before, we should not enable it again. That is why somebody like me, who had instances of saying exactly what you have said now, is saying that no, it is time we change the mindset of Nigerians. And that is why we're saying that the EFCC should do what? Should honor the court's orders. Because if it does not honor the court's orders and the court does not bite, then I might end up saying that yes, the court is also corrupt. As a court of competent jurisdiction, you must be able to give order. And whosoever disobeys such order must be treated as somebody who is disloyal to this country. And a penalty or sanction must be given out. Failure to do that by the courts will amount to people saying that the court is a toothless bulldog. But we never get to a situation in this country where
can the judiciary give an order stopping a government security agency from questioning a citizen or investigating a citizen?
Well, to the best of my knowledge, every Nigerian citizen who suspects that his right or freedom to expressing his right is trampled upon or is to be trampled upon has right to file what is called fundamental human right before a court of competent jurisdiction. And that was exactly what happened. And I'm aware that EFCC was served and they went on appeal, admitting that yes, that court has jurisdiction. So it's not out of place when a Nigerian citizen goes to the courts to enforce his fundamental human rights. It's not out of place. It's normal.
All right. Finally, the anti-graft agency confirmed, that the American International School of Abuja, where Yaya Bello paid allegedly $760,000 ahead as advance for his kids' school fees, had repaid that money. What are the implications of this?
Well, I'm worried. I'm worried because we're always seeing media trials. These are things that shouldn't come before the media in the first instance. If you have your facts, you have your figures, then wait for the arraignment of the suspect. Then you bring out all these facts. We have seen instances where EFCC went to somebody's house in this country. A former governor of Imo State, Rochas Okorocha, jumped the fence, broke the doors, did everything. Today, the man is a senator in this country. We're also aware of some of our people in the National Assembly today who had been invited severally by EFCC and were detained. And later they came out, nothing happened. But when it comes to the issue of Yahoo boys, you see the anti-graft agency biting with all its power, with all its strength. And we're saying that what has held this country back today is the level of corruption in the political sphere. And they have refused to do the needful when it comes to that. And that's why you find most of these people from governor, once they leave the governorship seat, they move to senatorial. And they have this cover that nobody can touch them. Let me give you an instance very quickly.
We're out of time. We'll have to leave it at that. But I want to thank you so very much. I wish you had more time to go into more of this, but thank you very much, Declan Hekari, for your time tonight.
You're welcome.
This afternoon. All right, let's take some more stories now. Some Nigerians have expressed displeasure over the rising cost of utility bills, which are becoming more difficult to pay. This is as the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission and pay TV operator MultiChoice have announced price increases in their services, blaming the cost of business operations for the hike. The Central's Marvelous Obomanu spoke to some residents in Nigeria's Federal Capital Territory.
Many Nigerians say they are grappling with providing basic essential needs for their families. While traders are complaining of poor sales due to scarce resources, salary earners have not been spared as they try to balance their income and expenditure. Payment of utility bills as it stands today in Nigeria is becoming difficult with the current increase in their prices. Talk about the hike in electricity tariff, talk about the subscription for GoTV and DSTV. Some Nigerians are saying they can no longer afford to pay these bills, which are of necessity to them because salaries are constant.
The tariff is a very serious issue because even myself, I pay, they refuse to give me meter, so I pay, estimated bill, and I pay 25,000 every month, which is so exorbitant. And when you check the high cost of living, if you put 25,000 for electricity tariff alone, then what are you going to spend? How much are you earning and how much is going out?
Since 1960 till now, Nigeria is still dragging with light. It's a very big shame to us. And they say Nigeria is the giant of Africa. And even other Africa countries, they even make use of the light, more judicially more than us.
If you are buying a card of 20,000, it will last up to a month, roughly 2 weeks or 3 weeks at max. But the thing is just, I don't know. I don't really know. They should try and work on it. I don't know. They should just try and do something about it. People are really dying.
I live in the outskirts, Buhari. They placed me on band 1. I even bought a unit, giving me 500 naira 1 unit. And after even trying to load the token refused. I was asked to come to the office and do upgrading. I want them to move me away from the band here. I don't understand. Honestly, it's terrible and it's painful.
The cost of other utility bills like DSTV and GoTV have also been increased, leaving Nigerians with no choice other than to pay the current subscription price. The big question is, how are Nigerians coping with a stable monthly income but soaring prices of utility bills?
You can imagine subscribing your DSTV for 18,000 naira, 20,000 naira to watch what? So it's too much.
Over time, I think they should have been able to come up with something that will substitute that, if not even create a competition in the market.
Despite years of public investment, Nigeria has the lowest access to electricity globally. About 92 million persons out of over 200 million citizens lack access to power. In Abuja for News Central, Marvelous Obomanu.
A massive fiery carnage on the east-west road in River State has destroyed dozens of vehicles, scourged goods worth estimated billions of naira, and claimed at least 5 lives. Governor of River State, Sionalayi Fubara, who visited the scene of the devastating tragedy on Saturday, confirmed 5 deaths and about 120 burnt vehicles. The devastating incident happened on Friday night along the LMA axis of the east-west road, which has long been neglected, increasing motorist risks. Reports suggest that the tragedy was triggered when a tanker navigating the dilapidated road was hit by another heavy-duty vehicle, igniting flames and an explosion. In the meantime, the River State governor has lamented that there is a fierce fight over the soul of the state in order to destroy it, but he noted that only well-meaning persons who are standing firmly with him can wield the force of unity to save River State. Fubara made the remark at the country home of a former governor of the state, Sir Lesno Mayor, in Ubima community in the Kwere local government area of Rivers State on Saturday. The governor, accompanied by some elders of the state, visited Ubima to condole with Omeya, who recently lost his mother, Mrs. Ezinne Omeya. Present at the event were former national chairman of the People's Democratic Party, Uche Secondus, a former governor of Rivers State, Peter Odili, and Senator Lee Maiba, amongst others. News Central now. We'll be right back after this break. We have more stories ahead. Please stay with us. You're welcome. The demolition of buildings on the right-of-way of the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Road project has been flagged up by Minister of Works, Sir David Umahi. The demolition exercise began at the Manichula Beach, Oniru waterfront on Saturday. The minister saying the compensation for workers, or owners rather, of the affected structures has been adequately factored in to the project, alleging those affected to see the greater good of the project. The demolition process is expected to continue for some days, and joining me right now to discuss this is public affairs commentator Olugbenga Ayonoga. Good evening to you, Olugbenga. It's good to have you. Good afternoon.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. Despite pleas by people and businesses who are in that area that the project will affect their businesses, the Nigerian government has continued the project and has now begun demolition structures on the path or right-of-way of the Calabar-Lagos Coastal Road. When you take a kaleidoscopic view, Olugbenga, of this project, do the overall benefits, like the Minister of Works is saying, outweigh the possible drawbacks?
Well, for me, I do not want to trust whatever the government says, because I've lived a little in this country to be faced with a lot of disappointment by the government. And with those disappointments from the past, I find it really hard to trust anything the government says. Because for me, while I understand the importance of such a project like this in opening up the country more to ease of transportation and movement of goods and services across the nation, but until we have a way where citizens can prosecute those leading the government, where those people leading the government can actually go to jail after their tenure, if after demolishing people's means of livelihood, they do not complete such that led to such demolition, such that people can now begin to get the benefit back from such demolition. I do not really, you see, I am a pro-government person, but still, I understand that in Nigeria, the government lies too much. They told us when they were removing the fuel subsidy that one of the reasons why they were going ahead with the removal of the fuel subsidy is to ensure that products are available constantly. But 1 year down the line, I mean, we've had the stories of the scarcity that is happening now, where it is reported that in some parts of the country, people are buying fuel as high as 700 and as high as 2,000 naira per liter, despite the fact that the government came with promises to make our life better if we can just endure, and they turn a lot of us to pauper. There is no middle class anymore in Nigeria. And so with this project, while I see a lot of potential good that it will bring, what if they can't finish it in 4 years, like all the white elephant projects that have been undertaken? And that is why, for me, I don't know what to say until they finish this project and people start using it like it has been promised. We've been promised a whole lot of things in this country that never came to pass. We've been told that the Port Harcourt refinery will start working December last year. This is April ending, we are going into May. They are shifting the goalpost again, telling us to wait for December this year again. And a lot of other promises from government at the highest level like that. ringing in my head will not make me trust an ounce of whatever the government says. And that is why I really feel for those who are losing their property now. Not that I don't believe that the project has a potential in booming business, in helping the country to grow. But are we like China, who will say they want to construct this project in 3 years, and in 2.5 years they would have delivered it?
Olubenga,
like
interesting point you've made. You're talking about the, the time it will take to complete this project, and if it will be a reality. We look at jobs being the value of the property there and business at a beach resort, $200 million as landmark, and all the businesses at that axis of the Oniru Beach at $200 million. We have over 80 businesses there, more than 4,000 jobs generating over 2 billion naira in annual tax revenue. As a government, will it have been wise to lose such an existing, tax source and also job creation avenue for a project that you're saying you're not sure when it's going to be completed?
There is nothing wrong in losing that kind of amount in tax revenue and jobs. Because I know if this project is completed, it will generate like ×3 of that job that they are going to lose. It is going to generate like ×3 or ×4
how do you
of
mean?
That tax revenue.
How do you mean?
Olubenga,
how do you mean?
Okay, so if you look at the area that axis, for example, if that road gets completed, a lot of freight goods that has to traverse through the east-west road will have to go through that route now, and it will be faster, more cost-efficient for them, especially all these big trucks and all the rest, making the other roads freer for normal vehicle movements as it is. And in the process, a lot of value chain of businesses are going to spring up along that route. And don't forget that once they finish the land filling of the areas that they are filling, yes, it's going to cover part of the ocean, but for every problem, there are engineering solutions that will make it possible for the current owners of the beach, if they can liaise more with the government, to go and establish on the other side of the bridge. It's going to cost more, no doubt.
Olubenga, so I'm sorry to interrupt you. Look at the aerial, the drone footage that we're showing on our screen of this project. Juxtapose it with the map of the route of this road. They call it Lagos-Calabar Coastal Road. We keep hearing from the landmark people, Olubenga, that the original route is on Water Corporation Drive. What we're seeing behind landmark, the road is already existing there. Now, if you look at the map, the road cuts just after the Lekki axis. It leaves the beach and goes back inward to the inland. And it stays inland all the way to Calabar. It stays inland all the way to Calabar. And some people are pointing out, oh, look at, there's some feeling from, what do you call it again? From Eco Atlantic City. Now, do you agree with those who say this is just a decoy to expand Eco Atlantic City? Bearing in mind, the contractor of this, the contracting company of this road project is the same person who owns Eco Atlantic City. Do you agree with those who say that?
I won't disagree with them, neither will I agree with them, because there are two or, in fact, three sides to a coin. And of course, to every story, there are multiple sides. The reason why I won't disagree with them is the fact that the process through which the high-tech people got the job is so shrouded in a lot of inconsistencies that how many people competed with them for the job before it was awarded to them. I have no doubt in their technical ability to deliver on the job or any other thing like that. But for the fairness of the procurement process, what was that job advertised? How many people competed with them? And there is a saying in Yoruba land that ajekila no mokuleni tani umopajano lokomote, meaning that the witch cried yesterday, the child died in the morning. Who will not say that it is the witch that cried last night that killed the child that died this morning? So it will be unwise for people whose business are affected not to think like that. And we know all these businessmen that they have no fear of God. Totally. They don't care whose ox is God once they have their eyes set on, and especially if they have high access to the corridor of power. There is a company that is enjoying monopoly in the petrol industry, and practically the government funded the completion of the refinery that everybody is celebrating now. And if you see a lot of people whose property were lost there, you will know that once you are close with the government, and that is why I would not disagree with the people. But on the fact that there is nobody whose property is about to be lost that will not engage every means possible in terms of smear campaign, misinformation, to make those who want to take away his or her property look bad. So I would not also want to agree with the people who are giving us these excuses, because really everybody is trying to protect their source of livelihood. And in protection of your source of livelihood is like all is fair in love and war. So we must be careful to, while we don't trust the government, we must not be quick to trust the narrative of those whose properties are also affected. I can spin story, you can spin story, anybody can spin story once their properties are affected. Right. But what we need to look at is the bigger picture of, if they finish this thing, how would we be able to surmount the challenge, initial challenge, and then have business continuity in place to ensure that whatever we lose now as a business, we can recover even from the presence of that facility near our investment. So if we look at that, then, look at many of the companies in Europe. For several years, they have been planning. They know that they are going to phase out petrol vehicles and all the rest. They have been planning on electric and alternative energy vehicles. But what do we do here in Africa? We do the blame game and
we have to pull the plugs to that. But I think I like the fact that you balanced on this with your analysis, looking at both sides. The government is saying they're paying compensation. Let's hope the compensation will be adequate. And if it ends up being decoy for the Atlantic City extension, well, maybe the benefits of that will far outweigh the losses that we're seeing today. But thank you very much, Olubenga Yonoga, for your time.
Thank you for having me.
All right. The saying goes, what a man can do, a woman can do even better. Well, this is an old saying that enjoys popularity within a segment of society. But what is generally accepted is that women have continued to shatter the ceiling of cultural inhibition. Now, this is a story of the first female tricycle rider in Maiduguri, the capital of Borno State in northeast Nigeria, where our correspondent Umar Kerawa tells us more.
A bustling street in Maiduguri, the capital city of Borno State in Nigeria. People are going about their daily activities and the atmosphere is lively. A glimpse of a young woman riding tricycle, maneuvering through the street with a crowd of curious onlookers left in amazement. My colleague and I took interest and had to follow her.
In fact, she made me impressed. Allah, Kai, she made me impressed. I was so excited. When I saw her standing bulunkutu, people were just watching her. And I said, my friend, let's encourage this lady. In fact, she impressed me a lot. It is very, very encouraging. I don't know much. I'm so excited, wallahi.
Ta nuna mana mu nemi abin kanmu yana da kyau ba sai mun tsaya muna tinkaho da wayansu ba. So saboda haka gaskiya na yi murna sosai. Ko ki fito yar uwa ta jama'a su ganke. Oya ko ba.
It's an encouraging to many girls out there depending on boys using themselves. They are cheating them, but here is a lady encouraging many girls out there.
This is just a tip of the iceberg of what many residents in Maiduguri, the Borno State capital, are saying with regard to the strange sight of a lady driving a tricycle. Follow me as we crisscross the capital city to find out more of the people's thoughts.
gaskiya sai dai ta hakuri ba. Za ta ga kalubale kala. Za ta gani kawai abu fatan da ran mata kawai ta ci gaba da hakuri dai.
Ta wani wajen in ci gaba ne. Sannan kuma dan gaskiya ana shan wahalan nafe sosai. Don ko ma in ka je post office bakin su university su ina da duk ana shan wahalan abun hawa.
Kudu lamma iso ke amma arewa ndo kan arma cidala aula dunwa kalata nafe girjin walja ai ba wadu bana tana.
Ya kamata ita mace din ta dinga daukan mata yan uwanta, maza kuma su dinga daukan maza yan uwansu saboda babu bane a ce kasan musulunci mace tana suna shiga mashin da maza suna cunkusu.
Kama so ko har kasadin za pleza lasa salu cida sadin na walja alo karu kujo ba.
A mother to 4 children, Rita Onsu speaks about her inspiration.
You know the way our country is now, as a woman, for you to sit down and wait for your husband's salary or wait for your husband to provide all your needs is not encouraging. And what inspired me the most, because I can see here that our women, will I say, they are scared of coming out to hustle or to do something for themselves. So I'm doing this to call our women out. You must not drive keke, you must not be a keke driver, but whatever you can do to help yourself, whatever you can do in your ability, whatever you can do, you know that your family will support you, your husband will support you, or whoever that will support you, and say, go ahead. Why don't you come out and do it?
She speaks about her early experience riding the tricycle.
The first week I started this work, it was not easy for me. At times, if I come back from the work, all my body will be paining me. I will be crying. I cannot sit. All my waist will be paining me. And I asked myself, will I give up just because of this body pain? I said, no, I cannot give up now. It's too early to give up. So I continue. At least, I had up to 3 times accidents. You can see my leg here is one of the accidents I had driving this. So you see, it's not easy.
As she maneuvers through crowded streets, Rita is piercing through barriers and challenging traditional gender roles in male-dominated profession.
How I wish I can get support to encourage me, at least to tell me that's what I'm doing, that people love it, to encourage me, at least to help me do more. Borno is a very nice and cool and loving place you can be. Don't be scared. Come into Borno and enjoy with us. There is nothing to be scared of. The people here are loving, so there is nothing to be scared of in Borno. You can see if I'm a woman here driving keke napepe, you can see the place is so calm and peaceful.
This may just be an indication that most of the non-gender-based hindrances are as strong as the mind allows it to. A testament to the old saying that what a man can do, a woman can at least try. In Maiduguri for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
Truly inspiring story there. You're still watching News Central now. Coming up, opposition wraps up campaign ahead of legislative polls in Togo. We'll bring you details after the break. Welcome back. The news continues in West Africa, where parades in the capital Lomé, Togo's ruling party and the opposition closed the campaigns on Saturday before legislative elections next week after a divisive constitutional reform that has fueled political tensions in the West African country. Monday's ballot will take place after lawmakers this month passed the reform that critics say allows President Faure Gnassingbé to extend his family's more than 50 years in power in the small West African state. Togo's opposition boycotted the last legislative election in 2018, citing irregularities. At this time, they have rallied supporters to challenge the dominance of Gnassingbé's ruling UNIR party. With caravans of vehicles, the main opposition National Alliance for Change, or ANC, crisscrossed streets of the capital before arriving in a public square for a rally.
Le dibena mia dua koke mi dayaji mia opposition o ne mia mobiliser Togo jo wa d'accord na mi le gbo susu me ne mi te do majorité su gbo l'assemblée a quand fona autre soro ni so mia be député la te nya be na la te trose wan drofa
amesa menya egome gasa game lo abati kan donc e ke baba le ve amole ni bena e se ko baba le trophy fia e ba motiver ameso donc mi do la ruji kwe mi ameji do musa nu mi ameji do.
Togo will on Monday hold legislative elections after a highly divisive constitutional reform that opponents say paves the way for President Faure Sebe to further extend his family's decades-long grip on power at the helm of the small West African country. For nearly 20 years, Faure Sebe succeeded his father, Yasibe Iyadima, who ruled for almost 4 decades. Critics say the political dynasty's hold on the small West African nation will be extended by the reform. People in the streets of the seaside capital, Lomé, were split over the election, the role of Togo's leader, and who it should be. The reform, adopted by lawmakers on April 19, makes the president's post largely a ceremonial one. The president will now be elected by parliament and not the people for a 4-year term.
Nyao jim 70 28 janvier 70 ojima famille nya singbe le funu kaka ncham baba do fifi famille nya singbe gba potole ye nyi miawe puhia
e dom le nya joro somi lo aya ko nya be jawe nu ami sukuru avo ami te potole wo leble mi so lo agbate mi so le koko donc a nke mi le di actuellement ibo be amerique ma gba ba ita la gba ble mi bo be aso galonde so van kona jono bobo be bon debi takona mia ne ore ke après tu ro so no be projet va voir mi va kona elu ko mi va kona be c'est réalisation de va dans terrain jo pe que le Togo e go be edupeto me fia amewu le gbesia go Togo le fia amewu mlo mim le po violence no de pe le fio e go be président que le gouverneur mia et le gouverneur Joagnere bon et nyam souhaiter be ne la te diriger et Joagnere ye jola te nyu amesa me la vole joamea.
Burkina Faso has rejected a Human Rights Watch report that says the soldiers killed at least 223 villagers in 2 attacks on February 25. Communications Minister Rimtaba Jean-Emmanuel Ouedraogo condemned the report and called it baseless accusation. The minister expressed his surprise that while this inquiry was underway to establish the facts and identify the authors, Human Rights Watch has been able, with boundless imagination, to identify the guilty and pronounce its verdict. So the words of the minister. The military junta in Burkina Faso on Thursday suspended the BBC and the Voice of America radio networks from broadcasting after they aired the report accusing the army of attacks on civilians in the battle against jihadists. In the east of the continent, Sudan has requested an emergency UN Security Council meeting on what it calls UAE's aggression for allegedly supporting paramilitaries battling the Sudanese army. The country's official Suna news agency confirmed that Sudan's UN representative Al-Harith Idris had submitted a request. Fighting broke out in April last year between the regular army headed by Sudan's de facto leader Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, the paramilitary rapid support forces led by his former deputy Mohammed Hamdan Daglo. For months, the regular army has accused the United Arab Emirates of supporting the RSF, a charge that the UAE denies. The Sudanese war has killed tens of thousands and forced more than 8.5 million people to flee their homes in what the UN has called the largest displacement crisis in the world.
بما يحافظ على أمن ووحدة البلاد وبما يمكننا من الانتقال الآمن للحكم المدني. المواطنين الشرفاء.
Still ahead, Joe Biden takes aim at Trump during White House dinner. We'll bring you details of that story and others. Please stay with us. Welcome back. U.S. President Joe Biden poked fun at himself but took sharp aim at his election rival Donald Trump on Saturday. at the annual White House Correspondents Association dinner amid some self-mockery and ribbing of the press. The 81-year-old U.S. president took sharp elbow jabs at a 77-year-old presumptive November election rival, quipping that age is the only thing they have in common. Biden struck a more serious tone in addressing what many Americans feel is a politically fraught moment, with Biden telling attendees Trump's rhetoric was a danger, particularly after the January 6, 2021 attack on the United States Capitol.
Of course, the 2024 election is in full swing. And yes, age is an issue. I'm a grown man running against a 6-year-old. Age is the only thing we have in common. My vice president actually endorses me.
Let's talk business now. The challenges faced by the MSMEs in Nigeria is a topic that business owners and stakeholders continually discuss. In these discussions, how to scale their businesses in such challenging times is a key issue. News Central was at an entrepreneurial lecture series where scaling small businesses was a focal point of deliberations.
The negative impacts that the COVID pandemic had on businesses in Nigeria cannot be overemphasized. Sadly, micro, small and medium-scale enterprises were mostly on the receiving end. Many of them did not survive. A few years later, Nigeria's economy is still facing challenges, and business owners are finding it difficult to sustain and scale their businesses.
And the ever-present insecurity.
At the 6th AM Agoro Entrepreneurship Lecture, this issue was the subject of deliberations.
A lot of small businesses wish to scale, whether that's good for their business or not good for their business. And there are pros and cons for scaling. But we find that a lot more of them are trying to scale. They want to have one branch here and another branch here. And they've seen quite a number of them, organizations that have scaled. And so we thought it was a good idea to bring, experts and professionals in that area, and those that have also scaled, to talk about, the challenges and the benefits of scaling your business. And that's what has informed this year's topic.
3-4 years later down the line.
In a panel session discussion, notable business owners and stakeholders shared experiences on how the challenging business environment has affected them and gave some advice on how best to scale and make progress regardless.
As your business grows, you need to bring in people. You need to bring in experienced people. You need to bring in people that align with your values, your vision, and your mission. And so being able to consistently grow your people and grow their capacity is a challenge that every business that is scaling needs to overcome.
Most times, right, businesses that already exist, you have a pool of businesses that have been serving, that have been making money, that are they are there. Why look for only startups? If you support those that exist to scale up, a person that's employing 10 can employ 100. Someone that employs 20 can employ 80. So helping those businesses that exist to scale is as important or even more important than just only helping startups.
In some states, including Lagos, the government has put certain mechanisms in place to help MSMEs weather the current economic storm. And they ask that business owners take full advantage so as to help better their businesses.
It's not only about money all the time. We have a second program called Business Support, and that is basically saying what skills the business owners need to set them up for success. How do we hold your hand to make sure that that business you're starting is actually successful? And we do this through various masterclasses. We link our business owners with mentors who are more successful in that space, and we do this across different sectors.
According to the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, MSMEs in Nigeria account for about 48.5% of the gross domestic product, GDP, as well as 7.27% of goods and services exported out of the country. For this vital segment to thrive, meet up and exceed expectations, more forums like this are needed to help chart the right course.
Interesting development there. And with our business story, we come to the end of the news at this hour. But before we go, let's take another look at the major stories. We told you that a tanker explosion in Rivers State has killed 5 persons, burning at least 120 vehicles. In Togo, the opposition has wrapped up campaigns ahead of the legislative polls. And we also brought you news that Sudan has demanded emergency United Nations meeting over what it alleges is the UAE's involvement in this lingering conflict. You can send us your eyewitness reports to the WhatsApp number and email address showing on your screen. Also follow us on social media where we're at News Central TV. And you can watch News Central TV live on any of these channels or platforms. I'm Kofi Bartels. Many thanks for your time. Good afternoon.